they have this pilot program where WERX will actually suggest when they can shut down different pick centers.
Really?
Hey, you're ahead of your SLA. You could go home at 3 o'clock if you keep going at this rate.
No one's going to complain about that if they're working.
Exactly. But these are all suggestions, so we're not taking action yet. We still allow the operation to be in control, but we give them all of the data of right now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of our podcast, talking all about software. I'm Marissa Dierlam, head of marketing for TGW North America, joined today by Rebecca Call. I'm really glad we can talk about this because you know so much more than I do, and you are so knowledgeable that you have an extremely long job title. So I'm hoping you can introduce yourself. I don't want to mess it up.
So Rebecca Call, I'm head of process software consulting and system integration management here at TGW.
Thank you very much. So the reason I want to talk about this is because talking to our customers, I think it's very easy for them to understand the mechanical side of what we do. You can see the thing move, you can see what comes out of it. But where they can maybe start to get lost a little bit is what is happening behind the scenes with the software. Especially if they're not in like a background of IT or operations, it can just go fully over their head. So maybe to start, it'd be interesting to say, have you explained how does software orchestrate the entire flow of a warehouse and its operations?
So that's a good question. It's interesting. In most traditional warehouses, everyone kind of knows what a WMS is. It's an inventory management system. The acronym is for warehouse management. So warehouse management system, its main responsibility is to manage the inventory coming in and the inventory going out. Mm-hmm. And so traditionally, when the inventory came in, you had manual workers. And you had the manual workers doing a transaction, and you didn't really much care about the order itself until it came out. That inventory degradation and, of course, the money that came along with it.
Yeah.
But labor management was then introduced for engineering standards, and so you needed to record those individual transactions and then introduced automation. Mm-hmm. So now, if you had a single point of automation in the facility, that's somewhat easy. Warehouse management can take care of that. But if you have multiple pieces of technology, that's where the complication comes in. Mm-hmm. So that warehouse management then didn't historically do that very well, which then introduced warehouse control systems and warehouse execution systems.
So maybe that's where I want to jump to next, is because there's so many terms, there's so many acronyms. So can you help me understand what is the difference between a WMS, a WCS, and a WES?
Again, very good question. So WMSs with the warehouse management system orchestrate the orders, not the flow. Mm-hmm. Warehouse control systems are usually subsystems. So one warehouse control system can control a conveyor system.
Okay, yeah.
It can control a single piece of automation.
Yep.
And then a warehouse execution system is that conductor of the orchestra. So you have many pieces of technology, many pieces of automation, and you need some brain to help manage the flow. Mm-hmm. So choosing which path an order takes within the system. Each subsystem wants, of course, me. But when you're dealing with a warehouse execution system, the warehouse execution system sees the whole view. It has that conductor position where maybe one set of the orchestra is slowed down because that's the best decision for the entire warehouse. So that warehouse execution system has a brain in that full view. The warehouse management system really cares about what's coming in and what's going out. Mm-hmm. And the warehouse control system is just taking a directive from one of the upstream systems and doing that one thing.
But they all are theoretically just talking to each other, right?
Consistently, continuously.
Yeah, very cool. So is there ever a time then in your facility where you'd maybe want just a WCS and not a WES? Something that's, the conductor, as you called it.
Yes. So a WCS for a single piece of automation. So if I have a low mechanized facility, I have one piece of equipment in the facility, then one WCS would be just fine. Mm-hmm. Think of like a manual warehouse where I just have conveyor coming in and I have a few diverts off of the conveyor and then I have people at the end of the diverts. Warehouse control system is a perfect solution for that type of implementation. Warehouse execution system, there's nothing really to conduct. Mm-hmm. It's just you throw it on a stick and conveyor and go down to a divert.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so getting back to some of the other common acronyms, how do WMS, WES, WCS, how do those guys play with something like an ERP or an OMS or PLC, some of the other acronyms that typically come up in these conversations?
So hierarchically, your ERP is interfacing with another acronym, your POS, your point of sale systems. So that ERP does a lot of your auditing transactions. And then your order management, or your OMS, your order management system, is looking at network distribution. So which facility, think Amazon, think of how many Amazon distribution centers there are. What is the most optimal path for this order to take? Sometimes the logic that goes into that is, hey, how can I just ship one package? Sometimes it's, where's the inventory and where can I aggregate? Maybe you order 4 items and 3 come out of one facility and one comes out of like a big and ugly facility where you're ordering a chair or something larger.
Yeah.
And then, so your ERP communicating to your OMS then communicates to a single WMS. That warehouse management system, just like its name, is usually only controlling one warehouse. Of course, there are WMSs that can control more, which is why there's always fuzzy lines between those different acronyms.
Yeah, but that's interesting. As you describe that, I'm sure you'll appreciate this as a mom. It reminds me of like the head bone's connected to the neck bone's connected to the shoulder bone, like that kid's song. It really, like, you have to think about how all these different things interplay with each other and talk to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the last one you mentioned is a PLC, a programmable logic controller. And that's actually the engine. That's the brain at the very, very lowest subsystem. So your WCS is talking to your PLC to actuate a divert or to fire a solenoid to actually get something to move the way that you want it to move.
So then would a WCS be made of multiple PLCs? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So then the TGW perspective, we offer WERX in our software capabilities, but what exactly is WERX if we're talking about all these different acronyms? Is it a WMS? Is it a WES, WCS? What is it?
In a word, everything. So WERX is a software suite. It's not just one application. So WERX as a software suite can be everything from your WMS all the way down through to your PLC programming. So with WERX as one umbrella term, there are WERX MFC, our material flow control, which is like our WES. You have the WERX WCS layer, you have the WERX WMS layer, you have all of these different subsystems that are all branded under the WERX umbrella. So in some facilities, we'll roll out WERX, and WERX is just a control system. And in other facilities, WERX will directly integrate with their OMS or their ERP. So we have an embedded system that works right under SAP that allows EWMS to just flow into a facility.
So then I imagine if it's a little bit pick and choose your own adventure, is there ever a time where we would have WERX in the facility, but we're not the WMS, we're using somebody's already built in WMS?
That happens quite frequently. WMSs historically are kind of embedded. They're entrenched in the facility. And so if a company has invested and reinvested in their WMS to do everything that they need to do from that order in, order out perspective, then if they want to bring in new technology or multiple technologies, or if they have a brownfield site that's not flowing the way that they want it to, they could introduce TGW either as just a software stack or as part of a new automation initiative and keep their WMS. There's no reason to throw out something that's good for their business.
Yeah, and think about the change management perspective too. If you've been changing it before and tweaking it and refining it, you don't want to start all over again.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So maybe can you give an example, like one that comes to mind for me is Intersport, where I think we are not necessarily the WMS. How does WERX work there then?
So Intersport is actually an interesting use case. All of us in automation, we love automation, and we try to automate everything, down to our checkbook balancing. Everything is automated. However, sometimes automation is not the answer. So Intersport was an interesting use case because they had a campus, not a single building. And some of the buildings during their 11 months of the year are not used. But automation requires different things like power surges and network protection and wireless access points to be installed. And all of that is not necessary for them for 11 months of the year.
Right.
So did it really make capital sense to fully build out this system to only use it for a month? The ROI just wasn't there. And so with Intersport, they wanted automation in their main building. We put automation in their main building. But WERX is so interesting that it can couple our highly automated building in their campus with a paper-picking manual facility that's used for about 3.5 weeks of the year. And that's the bicycles, the kayaks. You know, they take up so much footprint.
Big goods,
that they exist in their own facility. And WERX allows the automation to pick all of those units that are automatable and allows paper picking, and it somewhat hurts my heart to say that term.
To think of
as
someone walking
an
around
automation
with
expert.
Yeah.
But paper picking, and then we even marry it up at the end. So there's a consolidation transaction that's still under the WERX umbrella that's automated. It's in our automated building, but allows those stores to receive consolidated orders, which then, of course, cuts down on their processing time once the order gets into the building.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing benefit that it can cover both manual and automated. What are some other big picture benefits of WERX in your opinion?
So WERX is interesting because it has that AI capability. So think of one use case. We have a customer in the UK. And in the UK, they have this pilot program where WERX will actually suggest when they can shut down different pick centers.
Really? Huh?
Hey, you're ahead of your SLA. You could go home at 3:00 if you keep going at this rate.
No one's going to complain about that if they're working.
Exactly. But these are all suggestions. So we're not taking action yet. We still allow the operation to be in control, but we give them all of the data of right now. So it's not, hey, I ran my historical report today. Oh, I could have gone home at 3:00. You know, no one likes to hear that at the end of the day. But WERX allows that proactive monitoring to be able to display to a user, hey, you could shut down a pick center if you wanted to. You could be done at 3:00. You're on target to fulfill all of today's orders by 11 and tomorrow's SLA orders by 5:30. So then you can make those decisions.
I could see how that'd be really beneficial, like during peak seasons when you're very busy and instead of being so frantic, it can figure out a lot of that for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of customers, they struggle when automation meets reality. Automation's there chugging along doing its job, but if what they're seeing boots on the ground doesn't match that, then their only option is to keep moving forward. And then, of course, find out that they could have gone home at 3:00.
I know you've also talked about a big benefit of WERX, in your opinion, is the modern architecture. You want to talk a little bit more about that too?
Sure. So WERX as a software package is deployed in containerization, and lots of companies are doing this. This isn't unique to TGW. But the way that WERX is implemented in these containers allows for different things like if we do an upgrade to a Pick Center 1 module, that Pick Center that is, you know, just the engine behind the system, and we want to roll it out to the site. A lot of sites see risk in that. And so what we do is with our containerization, we can release it out to a single pick center. And then that single pick center can be tested. The rest of the operations keep flowing. Our deployment strategy also allows for less interruption to a facility, less risk to a facility. And of course, because we have simulation, emulation, and all of that incorporated into our strategies, then we know that we have a high level of confidence, let's say. We have a high level of confidence that we're not going to put the operation at risk when these major changes come. We're constantly evolving, and we want to make sure that everyone can take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's especially beneficial because, like you've talked before a little bit, that WERX is so customizable that it has all these modules that if you have each of those really nailed down, that makes it less risky than when a customer's like, well, I just need these aspects or these aspects.
That's correct.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's jump from there, maybe go through some different examples. So one that comes to mind of interesting applications of WERX is one that we are going through right now, the implementation of for a grocery customer in the Chicago area. Maybe you want to talk about the interesting aspects that WERX is doing for that company.
So WERX as a control system is coupled with our major storage engines, or Stingray shuttles, Our Stingray shuttles are then coupled with a palletizer. And this, if you've never seen it, you ought to see how this flows, because it is like, oh my heavens, it's watching a game in live action.
Yeah.
And so as you're standing there, you watch these cases come off of trays automatically. They're D-trayed. They flow then into a print and apply. The print and apply then flows into a palletizer. The palletizer just builds these dense, rich pallets. And what you don't know that's going on behind the scenes is our engine that's called Alpaca, our cute name for our packing program. Alpaca is formulating how to best build this pallet, not just from a stability standpoint, not just from a density standpoint, but also a quality of life. So what this particular customer needed was they needed to build pallets that went to multiple stops. So when that pallet goes on a truck, some of them are coming from an ambient facility module within the facility. Some of them are coming from the freezer. But when we load those, we need to make the quality of life for the driver and for the recipient better. And so we build these pallets in stop order and allow that driver then to be done with his job delivering these pallets quicker. And so the ROI is natural. Hey, automation, it's hard to work in a freezer, and so that's an easy justification. But couple that with quality of life for the drivers, and it's a win-win.
Yeah, and I imagine it would shorten the stop times too. So instead of the driver hopping into the back of the truck, okay, I need this thing from this pallet, this one from this one, it's all right there, and that greatly decreases the time that they're spending on the site.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another example I'd like to get into is one for a high-end fashion retailer, their facility in North Carolina. How is WERX kind of helping them out?
Also an interesting case study. So this facility has a beautiful crossbelt sorter that's been there, but they haven't gotten the performance out of it that they needed to get. And so as a step into higher automation, they implemented, again, a shuttle system. And their shuttle system is coupled with our pick center. So instead of the shuttle system being coupled to a palletizer, like in the grocery instance, this one is a pick center. And the pick centers are beautiful. You do exactly one thing. So you pick from one side and you put to the other side, and there's a screen there telling you pick 1, pick 3, pick 4, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
But the rates on those are amazing. And so this high-end fashion retailer then gets to benefit from their sorter still there. It's still there. It's still chugging away. It's still routing to individual store chutes. But now we can pick directly into a tote that goes to a packing station or even goes to the sorter, or we can pick into an outbound carton. And then that carton is automatically lidded and goes directly on their shipping sorter.
Very efficient.
And so think you don't have any more touches. It just is done.
Yeah. The other thing that I think that's interesting about that one, which leads me to another question, is we're kind of doing phases of automation for them. So how does that impact the software if you are phasing? Does the software always have to change every time you phase, or what does that look like?
So one of the nice things about WERX, because it's containerized, is the new container can just be joined up. So in this case, we actually don't even need new containers because we're just adding shuttle aisles and we're adding pick centers. So we can even pre-configure and say, in the future, you're going to have extra aisles and extra pick centers, but right now they're deactivated. So that by the time the mechanical build out and the controls commissioning all catch up to software, we just flip a switch.
Yeah, that's great. Listening to these examples, I think where my brain is starting to go is both sides, the mechanical side and the software side, can be so complicated that if you are not an expert in both at the same time, there could be issues of integration. And so I could see how, from the TGW perspective, it's nice that we can provide both. Does that resonate with you? Like if you were in the customer's shoes, would you also kind of prefer that someone could do both?
Absolutely. I was actually on a design call a number of years ago, and we had a different vendor, and they were saying, no, it's impossible. No, it's impossible. And while at TGW, our slogan is, it's possible. And so understanding which tools we have in our own belt, which tools are out there in automation that maybe we don't specialize in, takes away a level of risk to a customer. We know our technology through and through, and we're experts in the industry. And so being able to go in and answer the should questions instead of the could questions, making sure that we're implementing a system that is not just good on day one, doesn't just pass performance testing, but year 1, year 2, Not only does it flow as efficiently as it did originally, but it's adaptive to those customer needs. We maintain communication with our customers. We want to make sure they're satisfied with TGW equipment.
Yeah.
But we're also both the software and the hardware provider, so it's calling a colleague rather than trying to get a vendor on the phone.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe to close our conversation, I'd be curious to hear from your perspective. What do you think people often misunderstand about software? And what would you say to kind of correct some of those thoughts?
Software doesn't have to be complicated. Software's design is to make operations life easier. So anyone who operationally is struggling with their software, we need to be better. We need to do better. So when you're looking at software from an automation perspective, it should be elegant and simplistic. You should know what you're looking at. You shouldn't need a decoder ring to figure out which buttons to press or which menu to go into to access what's going on. Additionally, software needs to match reality. If you're standing in front of a stopped conveyor, your software should not say that everything is happy. And so when people are looking at which software to choose, a lot of times they don't think of TGW. TGW is a very good hardware provider. We've provided mechatronics for decades and decades, and people know us when they think shuttles. We make really good shuttles. But at the same time, we have the expertise to control not just our own hardware, but other people's hardware. And I think people struggle to understand that sometimes.
Yeah, and too, as you're saying, I'm curious your perspective. How do you keep it so simplistic and elegant when software feels like it's always changing and never slow in development?
We need to listen more than we talk. When we get into those design sessions, a lot of times we don't listen to operations. We don't listen to what the needs are. So what we do is we build a computer system, we build that software, and then we start with the change orders or with the support requests, and we put code on top of code on top of code, and it becomes spaghetti.
Yeah.
In the beginning, if we listen to what the ongoing business needs are, but if we listen and if we are experts in software and in operations, then we know today's requirements.
Like the big picture, yeah.
Sometimes it's going to be 24, 26 months before these sites are live. I've never built a system that 24 months later is exactly the same. The needs are exactly the same as when we signed on the dotted line. And so ensuring that the system is designed with flexibility in mind. Then operations isn't complicated. Because then if your distribution between retail and e-com shifts, guess what? The system's built for that. If your distribution between automated or manual units changes, system's built for that. So that flexibility in the application itself, rather than spaghetti code on top of spaghetti code, well, that's what we do.
Yeah, and I think that also just builds again on what you were saying earlier before, that if you have a strong relationship with your vendor, those sort of conversations are a lot easier to handle as your business naturally changes and grows.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this conversation today. This has been very illuminating. Like I said before, I'm not great at software, so hopefully this gave our listeners as well also a very good overview. So thanks again for joining us. I hope you'll come again for the next episode in the future, and keep thinking beyond logistics.